Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. A classified satellite for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office was launched into space from California on Sunday. The NROL 85 lifted off at 6:13 a.m. from Vandenberg Space Force Base aboard a two-stage SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The NRO is a government agency in charge of developing, building, launching, and maintaining U.S. satellites that provide intelligence data to senior policymakers, the intelligence community, and the Defense Department. You'll hear me stand for Musk when it comes to being an absolutist position, his absolutist positions on free speech. You will not hear me cheering for him when it comes to allowing government spy satellites to piggyback on his rockets to the detriment of society. The Biden administration has decided to implement a self-imposed ban on the testing of anti-satellite weapons, in part to highlight a Russian test in November that created a dangerous field of space debris. According to a document, administration officials told Congress the move was designed to address the most pressing threats to the security and sustainability of space. So, apparently, on November 15th, an interceptor missile launched in northern Russia struck a Soviet era Cosmos 1408 satellite, generating a massive debris field in low Earth orbit of more than 1,500 pieces of traceable or trackable debris. Kamala Harris will meet with members of the U.S. Space Force and Space Command, and she will. It says that she is focused on, quote, advancing norms for peaceful and responsible behavior in space. Honestly, when I imagine what our outer atmosphere looks like at this point, with all the satellites and junk just floating around, we're already trashing the new frontier before we've even made it there. I do think this move and this decision is interesting. As a matter of principle, the force that you just created to maintain American dominance in space, this decision is to disengage from defensive measures in space when it comes to satellites. I don't know. At this point, there is nothing that this administration does that I'm not surprised by. Oh, did you guys see my new sign? Hey y'all, because that's me. Okay, I'm sorry, total distraction. Okay, Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe or however you say his name, warned that a shortage of electric car batteries could soon eclipse the issues that the automotive industry has faced from the computer chip shortage. Semiconductors are a small appetizer to what we are about to feel on battery cells over the next 2 decades. Over the past 2 years, the chip shortage has led companies to slash production and cut electronic features like touchscreens, seat heaters, etc. Now, automakers are looking to branch out into electric cars and could face a critical shortage of EV batteries, as well as the metals required to produce the roughly 1,000-pound lithium ion batteries. Put very simply, he said, all the world's cell production combined represents well under 10% of what we will need in 10 years, meaning 90 to 95% of the supply chain does not exist. Over the past year, prices for the metal have more than quadrupled. I've shared this with you guys previously, as the pace of lithium extraction has lagged behind demand for electric cars. Last month, as I told you guys, nickel prices hit their highest level in over 20 years. Scaringe said he's on the phone with semiconductor supplier CEOs every day. It's day in and day out, a battle for allocation, and the number that they get is precisely equal to the number of vehicles they build. Rivian began selling their first models last fall. The company had a blockbuster IPO that briefly valued the company over top automakers like Ford and GM, but since then, Rivian's share price has dipped. As if our position on the world stage wasn't contentious enough, our merry band of thieves, led by Lindsey Graham, traveled to Taiwan to put China on notice. He said, "I just want to let you know that while I've been watching the Ukraine on television, while it has broken our hearts, the American people understand how important you are to us." China's biggest propagandist, though, sees it otherwise. Hu Xijin said, "As the situation in the Taiwan Strait deteriorates, we must prepare for a military struggle," urging Chinese citizens to be ready to face major challenges and hardships as a result of a hypothetical US-China clash over the orientation of Taiwan. Hu also said, "Trust between China and America is now non-existent. Russia's fight has not been smooth, and although the United States has successfully mobilized the West to carry out comprehensive sanctions against Russia, Washington believes the sanctions have shaken China and that it now has a new bargaining chip to deter China." Graham wrapped up his visit with a statement. "So here's my promise to you." I really want you to listen close to this one. "So here's my promise to you and the Taiwanese people. We're going to start making China pay a greater price for what they're doing all over the world. The support for Putin must come with a price. The never-ending cyber attacks on your economy and your people by the CCP need to come with a price. I want you to be encouraged that the American people are more united than ever behind the idea of freedom." Ooh, boy, the sauce is thick on that chicken. Y'all, the war pigs are calling. I know it's politics and I know this is their job, but damn, it's hard to read this shit, especially after the last 2 years. Hu went on to say, Who as in the man, not who like the Who or whatever, went on to say the Chinese military is ready, but the public is not. And I found this interesting because it's almost like a little bit of, even though he's the main propagandist for China, there's a bit of truth laced in with this. The Chinese military is ready, but the public isn't. It's time to make some changes. It's interesting, like, Joseph Goebbels and the U.S. mainstream media would be proud of him, especially after Micah Brzezinski making that Freudian slip this weekend and saying, hold on, I have the direct quote, "Musk could have undermined the messaging so much. He can actually control what people think, and that's our job." Since the risk of conflict in the Taiwan Strait is growing, this is still a continued portion of the quote from Hu. Since the risk of conflict in the Taiwan Strait is growing, the mainland public should be sufficiently informed. If mainland China doesn't take precautions now, we may leave ourselves in serious passivity, so like the United States. Of course, I hope the Taiwan issue can be resolved peacefully without a fight as China gradually becomes stronger, but what if the United States doesn't give us the time? We must think in terms of the bottom line to respond to a worst-case scenario. Oh, the Biden administration will no longer enforce a mask mandate on public transportation after a federal judge in Florida on Monday ruled that the 14-month-old directive was unlawful, overturning a key White House effort to reduce the spread of COVID-19. The ruling came in by U.S. District Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell, and she said the CDC, quote, exceeded its authority with the mandate, had not sought public comment, and did not adequately explain its decisions. The wildly ridiculous part is that this case came in a lawsuit filed last year in Tampa, Florida. A U.S. administration official said while the agencies were assessing potential next steps, the court's decision meant CDC's public transportation masking order was no longer in effect. The administration could still opt to appeal the order, or seek an emergency delay in the order's enforcement, and the White House called the ruling disappointing. I'm sure totalitarian fascists don't like it when they can't lord over people anymore. The TSA, FAA, and CDC all declined to comment. In the last year, there have been 7,060 unruly passenger incidents reported. 70% of those involved masking rules because people don't like being told what to do. One of the oldest known meteor showers is gracing the night sky this week, coinciding with Earth Day. There hasn't been a meteor shower in months, and the Lyrid shower marks the end of the drought. This year, the Lyrid meteor shower peaks overnight on April 22nd. Unfortunately, the peak is narrow, unlike other showers where you can catch shooting stars all month. The Lyrid meteor shower occurs every year from around April 15th to 29th as particles shed from comet 1861 G1 Thatcher. The comet last passed through the inner solar system in 1861, and it will not return until 2276 due to its 415-year orbit. Wrapping up the morning with total and complete bullshit for you guys. Ukrainian officials are appealing to the United States and other G7 nations for a $50 billion aid package to cover the country's widening budget deficit. Ustenko, who is a top economic advisor to Zelensky and was probably a comedian or actor in another life, said that since they do not have the ability to raise cash from private markets, that Ukraine could soon be forced to dramatically shrink their expenditures. Shocker. Including paychecks to soldiers and aid payments to its citizens. You have to understand, the $50 billion is crucial for keeping our lives going. Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, was asked whether we would support such a plan, and she said she is committed to working with our partners and allies to support Ukraine's economic needs in the short and long term, and will use her meetings this week to galvanize support. Capital, what the actual F word? I'm not going to say it. I'm being good. Whew, that was hard. Okay. The Ukrainians are proposing an initial tranche of about $10 billion, half of which Ustenko proposed could be covered by the United States, which he sees as leading the global effort to provide support. Well, no fucking shit. Okay, just kidding. I totally... That would be followed by subsequent payments on an agreed-upon schedule. This is something which is needed to be resolved almost immediately. It's not like we have time to wait. Ustenko went on to say that the money would be ideally provided as grants that wouldn't have to be repaid. But he said he expects at least some of the assistance could come in other forms, such as loans or loan guarantees. Yeah, ideally. Please just take all of our fucking money and don't worry about paying any of it back. Meanwhile, Russia escalated its attacks after Ukrainian missiles sunk its flagship Moskva, who fucking knows, and has launched a major new offensive to take control of the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine. That is today's edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday, and I will see you tomorrow.